The choices we make today will shape the future of global research for decades to come. In a world where science knows no borders, and we know that is true, let's ensure that our collaborations, not our divisions, define the next framework program, the next MFF, the next era of discovery.
Welcome to the Insider Roundup podcast. Today our host Ricardo explores the intersection of collaboration and competition in research and innovation, focusing on China's rise as a scientific powerhouse and Europe's response. He discusses the challenges and opportunities of international collaboration, the risks of isolationism, and the role of private intelligence services. He also highlights Europe's advancements in AI and supercomputing and the measures taken to support startups and SMEs. The conversation emphasizes the importance of building bridges and leveraging collaborations to enhance collective capabilities. Tune in for an insightful roundup.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Insider Roundup. It is peak holiday season, and even though this year holidays in the Brussels bubble are feeling a little different, mainly due to the recent parliamentary elections and change of leadership in the council. By the way, a warm welcome to António Costa, the new council president. The rentrée politique has profound consequences for all the institutions and for all of us. All of this happens in what I think it is a crucial moment in the area of research and innovation. We are, in fact, setting the foundations for the next multi-annual financial framework. This means it is worth highlighting the outstanding contribution of some of the institutions with papers on FP10, and Tech has made a really good one. It is a piece of work coordinated directly by the CEO and President, João Claro, but with the contributions of many other Tech colleagues. It is so rich, and I dare say different, in the way it proposes a framework to think our future in research and innovation, that we will surely come back to it in dedicated episodes and some special guests, so stay tuned. Still in the FP10 arena, Sweden has published its position paper on FP10 at the beginning of this month. We haven't read it in detail yet, due mainly to me trying to be on holiday, not because the paper is that long, so let me reserve comments for later. And you know what? Eurostat has just released a note announcing that EU governments increased R&D allocations by 5% in 2023. The Nordics keep leading the peloton by a high, very high margin, but the largest percentage increases between 2013 and 2023 come from Eastern Europe. It makes a lot of sense, but these numbers will deserve a closer look. Another amazing piece of work, worthy of notice, is the interview of Inês Lins, president of Enesco ID, on the evolution of AI, education challenges and gender balance issues in computer science. Now, our focus for today's editorial and roundup is slightly different. It starts with a reflection on our competitive position in the R&I world and ends with some thoughts and praise to the bold advances being made in support of that competitiveness. If you are listening to this podcast, it is highly likely that you, like me, are deeply invested in the future of our joint future of research and innovation. So today I want to explore a theme that's not just timely, but it is crucial. How do we go through the complex issues at the intersection of the collaboration and competition in R&I? It became clear to most of us that we are witnessing a truly historical moment. At least to me, it is very, very clear. The rapid advancements in AI and supercomputing across Europe and the world, with a particular reference to China's rise as a scientific powerhouse, are reshaping the global landscape. These developments are not happening separately in silos. They are deeply interconnected. influencing everything from policy decisions to the nature of international collaboration. So let's start with China. Many of you are aware that China has been making headlines, and this is not just for its economic growth or geopolitical strategies, but for its unprecedented rise in the field of scientific research. Nature recently reported, and I quote, China's newfound position at the summit of Nature Index in 2023 represented a major, if not unexpected, turning point. This is more than just a statistic, my friends. It's a signal that the global balance of scientific power is shifting. What does this mean for us, for Europe, and for the world? China's success is built on massive investments in research and technology infrastructures, what we might call big science in Europe. These large scale science facilities are designed not just to produce knowledge, but to increase China's prestige and influence in global science. They are following a model that, in many ways, parallels the developments of Europe's own research infrastructures, particularly through initiatives resembling the ESRI single-sited and some of the distributed facilities. But here's where it gets interesting. Whereas Europe's model emphasizes collaboration and the efficient use of resources across nations, even with its own problems, of course, China's approach has been more centralized, with facilities that are often built before research goals are fully defined. Now, I'm sure some of you are thinking, but what about the challenges? And you're right, there are significant challenges. China's rapid growth has raised critical questions about the future of international collaboration. There's a growing concern, particularly in the West, about technology transfer and the risk of scientific isolationism. Nature even warns that challenging established norms has the potential to benefit research across the globe, but also cautions us in one of the quoted articles that you can find in the notes of this podcast and in our newsletter about the risks of fragmentation. So let me ask you, how many of you have felt this tension in your own work? The push and pull between wanting to collaborate and needing to protect intellectual property or strategic interests? And how is this translating into human resources, for example, particularly when we want to collaborate or even hire? It's a fine line we walk, isn't it? This brings us to an even more complex issue: the rise of private intelligence services assessing the risks of research collaborations with China. As reported by Science Business, universities and research institutions are increasingly relying on these services and to understand how to partner with Chinese entities. But here's the catch: this intelligence is built on a foundation of mistrust. We're seeing a shift where necessary caution might be veering into the territory of isolationism. And that's a dangerous path for global science. So it's not all caution and concern. There's a compelling counterpoint. China's big science infrastructure projects are attracting a lot of international researchers because they offer something unique, something you can't get elsewhere. And many of you might agree that despite the fears of losing technological leadership, there's a lot we can learn from China's rapid advancements, particularly in fields like battery chemistry, where they've already outpaced many of our nations and Europe as a whole. Now, if we bring this closer to home and to Europe, we must decide how to position ourselves in this increasingly multipolar landscape. For example, the New York Times recently highlighted China's lead in electric vehicle technology, which is driven by a broader strategy that integrates education, research, and industrial application. This is a strategy that challenges the technological leadership the United States and, by extension, Europe has held for so long. But it also presents an opportunity for us here in Europe. We're recognizing the need for applied research and technology infrastructures that can drive economic valorization of knowledge, a model that, interestingly, shares similarities with China's approach. Concretely, the expert group on technology infrastructure set up by DGRTD is hard at work and its first results are soon to be published. Ineshk is a member of this group alongside 20 other research organizations, university representatives, industry, and the infrastructures themselves, of course. Esri has also been hard at work doing landscape analysis, financial analysis, and financial needs of the big science research infrastructure, but also the distributed ones. And we hope that this ecosystem finally starts working together towards our common goals in a way that hasn't done in the past. So here's another question for you. How do we leverage all of this? How do we build bridges rather than walls? And how do we ensure that our collaborations enhance rather than diminish our collective capabilities? It is crucial to think about this in this moment that we're living. And I mean, not only within Europe, we should be thinking about how to leverage this, not just making Europe open to the world, but actually thinking Europe in the global context. Did you know that to set up, for example, a catapult center, a type of technology infrastructure created in the UK several years ago, the first set of questions are related with that potential new technology infrastructure, scientific, technological, and economic fit globally? After all, it is this lack of kind of bold strategic pragmatism that has brought us the increased trade tariffs that we have been imposing on others and others on us, the urgence of strategic autonomy, etc., etc. So, speaking of bold steps, let's talk about AI and supercomputing. These are fields where Europe is making significant advances. This year, the European Commission has launched measures to support startups and SMEs in developing trustworthy AI. Let's start by taking a closer look at the latest President's Ursula von der Leyen's State of the Union address. Her explicit goal is to de-risk, not decouple, with major powers such as China. President von der Leyen also emphasized the importance of AI and the AI Act. Let me quote what she said in the statement.
Thanks to our investment in the last years, Europe has now become a leader in supercomputing, with 3 out of the 5 most powerful supercomputers in the world. So we need to capitalize on that. And this is why I can announce today a new initiative to open up our high-performance computers to AI startups. That gives them the opportunity to train their models, but in a responsible way. But this will only be one part of our work to guide innovation. What we need is an open dialogue with those that develop and deploy AI. This dialogue happens already in the United States. As you know, 7 major tech companies have already agreed to voluntary rules around safety, security, and trust. It happens here, where we will work on AI companies, with AI companies, so that they voluntarily commit to the principles of the AI Act before it enters into force, because we cannot lose time anymore. So now we should bring all of this work together towards minimum global standards for safe and ethical use of AI. Our people deserve it.
This is not a small statement. She goes on and talks about setting global standards for safe and ethical use of AI. But let's focus on the direction of travel of European policy and the actual implemented measures since that State of the Union address. Now, here is the praise. For example, Thomas Skordas, who is Deputy Director of DG Connect and is a long-standing and dedicated EU civil servant, has been at the forefront of important developments in this area. And I want to acknowledge some of the recent achievements he announced on behalf of the European Commission. Mainly on LinkedIn, Skordas highlighted, along the last few months, several key milestones. Let me just give you some of them. The prizes awarded under the large AI Grand Challenge to Europe's top startups working with AI. And let's pause on this one. Prizes in Europe are important. We do not have a culture of giving prizes, of giving some recognition to people who try and fail and try and achieve. He announced the new call to procure the Daedalus supercomputer in Greece, the hosting agreement for Jules Verne, the soon-to-be Euro HPC exascale supercomputer in France, the Council's adoption of regulations on the use of supercomputing in AI development, the launch of Destination Earth system in Finland underscored the role of Lumi, a Finnish supercomputer and also part of Euro HPC. So the crucial role of Euro HPC was also in advancing cancer research was also announced, with a particular focus on the role of the Barcelona Supercomputer Center. Perhaps the most notably was the establishment of the AI Office, led by Lucilla Scioli, which will play a very important role in the implementation of the AI Act and aims to foster innovation in trustworthy AI. While this is not at all an exhaustive list, the high point of all these developments was undoubtedly the entry into force of the European Artificial Intelligence Act, alongside the amendment of the Euro HPC regulation. We will get into what Euro HPC is in later episodes. But Euro HPC now sets the stage for the establishment of AI factories across Europe. These AI factories are not an EU invention. They check, for example, the very advanced initiatives by mammoth companies such as NVIDIA and many others in the US and elsewhere in the world. However, if well implemented in Europe, these AI factories could revolutionize how we approach AI development, providing a structured environment where AI can be developed with both innovation and ethical considerations. So, trustworthy AI. Now, again, let me turn this back to you. How do you see the role of AI factories in your own work? Are we prepared to take full advantage of these new infrastructures? And perhaps more importantly, how do we ensure that these AI factories remain hubs of collaboration rather than isolation, even within Europe? To help us answer these questions and other important technological, scientific, and policy-related questions, the Insider will bring in some of the leading voices in AI and supercomputing in the next episodes. I invite you all to stay tuned and be part of this important conversation the next few months. So, I want to leave you with this thought. I am absolutely convinced that we are living through a moment that will define important historical trajectories, not just in science, but for humankind. But focusing on science and technology again, the choices we make today will shape the future of global research for decades to come. In a world where science knows no borders, and we know that is true, let's ensure that our collaborations, not our divisions, define the next framework program, the next MFF, the next era of discovery. Obrigado to you all, and I look forward to reading your feedback as always.